resources that we have available for you. So as you can see here, I'm the Regional English Language Officer, and we call ourselves RELOs. So when you hear the word RELO, that's what it means. And we have 25 RELOs around the world and a few in Washington, D.C. And our job is to promote the teaching and the learning of English. We are considered diplomat, and we do this work out of embassies around the world. And because we are regional, we usually are in one country, but from there, we cover multiple countries, from one country up to 20 countries. I get to cover 8 countries in this region. A little bit about me. I think Anne already introduced me, but I'll tell you a little bit more about me and my experiences teaching. I was a teacher for, I'm going to date myself, about 20 years or so. I started teaching in a bilingual school. I was teaching kindergarten up to 4th grade. And I also did teaching English as a second language in Washington, D.C. And after that, I became a school principal. And I was a school principal in a pre-K through 8th grade school in a private school in Washington, D.C. And then I moved into the charter schools, and charter schools are just like public schools, also in Washington, D.C. I loved being an administrator, but I really had my call in being a teacher. You know, it was just like there's moments where you really want to go back into the classroom, and being an administrator kind of removes you from it. So I decided to go back into teaching, and I was teaching in a high school this time in Alexandria, Virginia. And it was an interesting high school because I taught at the Juvenile Detention Center. So these were schools for students who had committed crimes. In the United States, everybody has to be in education up until their 18th. So even though they had committed crimes and they were in a detention center, they still had to go to school every day. And I was working with the students there for quite some time. And then I worked at a career center, which is kind of like a magnet school in Arlington, Virginia. And after that, I became the Regional English Language Officer, worked in Washington, D.C. for quite some time, maybe 2-3 years before I moved to this region. And I'm completing my 2nd year here in Bahrain. So I was a teacher administrator. Of course, I love to travel, and this job is the perfect fit for me because I love to travel and I love to learn. I'm always learning. I have 3 master's degrees, so I study it a lot, and I like that a lot, and I like to be able to learn from others. And that's what I do when I meet people with my job. And I'm the Regional English Language Officer. So today, we are going to recognize the importance of teachers' well-being and explore ideas to recharge for the academic year. We are also going to self-assess well-being and identify strategies that we can implement in our daily lives. We are going to use and practice techniques and tools today, so we'll be very practical as well. And hopefully this will help us take a moment to reset. And thank you for being here on a Saturday. I know it's your time off. And we're going to explore some free resources because we all love free resources. So we'll explore some of those. So we're going to get started, and I need you to help me with the chat box. Okay, so you see here a bunch of colors, and this is an activity that I learned from a specialist who came to the UAE and Bahrain back in March, and she talked a lot about social emotional learning. So this is an arrival practice. This is something you can use in your classroom at the beginning of a lesson or at the beginning of the school year. So here is your task. If how you are feeling today could be represented by a color, what color are you feeling like right now? So think about a color, and here are some examples for you. For example, green could mean happy. For example, red could be for excited, and yellow for maybe stress. So you can give the color whatever feeling you have. And I give you a second here. Blue, okay, so can you tell me a little bit about blue? Blue means what? I have some orange. I have some people feeling orange. I wonder if orange means happy. Blue and yellow. Oh, I have somebody feeling pink and light pink. Oh, I went too fast. Okay, I see some people feeling green. I'm gonna wait one more and see if we can hear from anybody else. Good. With this activity, you can have students talk about how they're feeling. So I feel green because, right? And we are all English teachers, so we know that if you have a sentence frame, if you have a structure in your classroom, they can complete the sentence and everybody can participate. We have happy colors for David is saying, I'm assuming it's blue and yellow are happy colors. So everybody will have a different perspective on the colors. And this is what this activity makes it even more meaningful for the students, because then we're talking about empathy and understanding how we all are different. Green and orange. We have some people with very nice, interesting combinations of colors. Today, I think I can feel green. I was happy about this workshop, this webinar, but also a little stressed, knowing how the technology will work and how things will be. So there's always a little bit of both, right? Like excitement and also a little bit of stress because you never know. And I think this is us in teaching in general, right? We come excited, but at the same time, we don't know what's going to happen. Oh, and see, it says their daughter's traveling today. So that makes them feel a little sad and happy for attending this workshop. Thank you very much for sharing. Okay, so very simple, and you can modify this activity. You can do it at the end of the lesson too. You can do it at the beginning and then at the end, so you can have a point of comparison. And if you do this as an arrival practice several times a week, then students know that they're prepared and they can start telling you about their feelings and their emotions. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about teaching in today's classrooms. I get to visit schools and classrooms, but I'm not teaching directly anymore. So can you tell me a little bit about what do you see in the classroom? You can unmute if you want, you can raise your hand. Or you can tell me what's happening in today's classroom. We went through the pandemic. We had a year or two where we were not in the classroom per se, and now we came back. Oh, we see a lot of cell phones, right? We see a lot of technology in the classroom. I'm assuming that's what mobiles is. If you want to unmute and tell me, it's also fine. What do you see in today's classrooms? It is challenging. I see a lot of challenges. I think, Mohammed, I think you're right. We see a lot of challenges in the classroom. A lot of technology. It's not the usual learning process. Somebody sees motivated students to learn, so that is good. Or maybe there is lack of motivation. Some people see more concentration and motivation than in the past. That is good to hear. The motivated students to learn. Stress, different purposes, thinking skills and thinking strategies. Sleepy students, I know we had students during the pandemic, they were joining us from their bedrooms, so hyperactivity, we see a lot of better opportunities too. So I have some ideas of what we see in the classroom today, and you can give me a thumbs up if this is happening in your classroom or in your school situation. We see overcrowded classrooms. So you used to have maybe 20, now you might have to have 25 or 30. I see that a lot. I see a lot of overcrowded classrooms. I see teachers covering classes when others are absent. Do you find yourself being the substitute teacher? Yeah, I used to do that. I think it's still happening as part of what we do in the school, especially if schools are small. Do you see long hours of work? and you even bring work home. I used to bring work home all the time. I'm glad to see people know, even in developed countries, we have a lot of work and we bring work with us. Do you have expectations from administrators? And the expectation is like every student has to learn. Principals say everybody has to learn, no excuses. Yeah, even as an administrator, we had that. And you have a lot of meetings to attend. Yeah, meetings always. And sometimes we say that meeting could have been an email. Constant meetings, yeah. That meeting could have been an email. Okay, do you also see this? Helicopter parents. Those parents who want to know everything all the time. They're in your classrooms, they don't leave you alone. Even at the college level, we've seen a lot of this recently, where parents are super involved. They always want to be there. Or you have the opposite, right? You have the parents who just don't want to cooperate. They just refuse to help. They just refuse, and the child is perfect. And why are you telling me my child is not learning? Or we have parents who are indifferent. You know, it is what it is kind of approach. They don't get involved. Do you have students who lack a discipline and students who are not motivated? We had quite a few people talk about motivation. You have students with learning disabilities. Sometimes they are not diagnosed disabilities, but you know that students could have difficulties learning. And do you have changing curriculum and assessments? Every year you have a new textbook. Every year you have new standards. Every year you have something that you need to be doing that is different. So I think we have a lot of the same kind of issues in classrooms across the world. It's not just in this region, but across the world, in developed and undeveloped countries, both of them. Changing curriculums now and then, it happens quite often. So those are things we cannot really change. This part of this we cannot really change. We cannot change students with learning disabilities. We cannot change the higher ups telling us the curriculum, but there are some things we can do to make us feel better. Well, we have a question. What is a helicopter parent? So just like a helicopter hovers over space, that's what we call helicopter parents. So these are the parents who come into your classroom all the time. They want to know what the student is doing. They want to know exactly, you know, why my child is doing this, why my child is not doing that. They might do homework for their children because they want them to do their best. So that's what we call helicopter parents. Okay, so let's start with a reflection practice. And this is something too that you can do as for yourself, and also do it as a person. So one of the things we can do to recharge is to think of the things that we're doing well, things that really have worked well for us in this past year or in general in our careers. So if you think a little bit about what is working in your career, feel free to share any of this in the chat, or if you want to unmute and tell us, that would be great too. So what is working in your career right now? What's something that you feel like this is great? I am enjoying this. I love this. And I am just very satisfied with it. Or think about something that you're proud of at work. Think of something that you did this past year and it was just great. Or think in an area that you are thriving. Like, I'm really good at this. I'm really good at teaching academic writing, or I'm really good at classroom management, or I'm really, really good at having a work-life balance. Or think about an accomplishment you want to celebrate. I'll give you a few minutes here to type your answers. And I appreciate your honesty, because I know it's hard to a little bit celebrate the things that are happening. So students doing their homework, students getting involved in group work. I love to see that. Marwa Hamid, you have your hand up. Please tell us.
I am walking with my daughter to take her to the place where she's going to leave from. But I want to participate. For me, the experience of teaching, it wasn't my dream, but I enjoyed it because I love my language. I love to teach English. I love to speak English. I love to learn. My love for my job, for this language, helped me to acquire as many techniques and to be always up to date. Although there are some difficulties which I always meet in the classroom or in this field as a whole, but I trust myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marwa. I think you made some really great points. I think the passion that we have is something that is worth to celebrate, right? And I see a few people writing passion, you know, talking about my own work, getting published, that my students remember what they learn. It is absolutely fantastic to hear that they remember. And I think something that sometimes we don't see is the impact that we have in the future. We cannot think a lot about what we have in front of us, but sometimes we get students to come back. You know, they come back to you and they thank you for the work that you did. And you just don't see the impact right away. Like a doctor will see the impact right away, right? Maybe a computer technician will be the impact right away, but we don't see the impact until a lot later on in our lives. So I love that people want to write articles, because I do have something for you later on in today's workshop that you can publish your articles with us. So, you know, something that we can do is write it, acknowledge it, appreciate it, and celebrate it. We really want to make sure that we, you know, we are always celebrating things, because it's definitely something hard to think about the good things that are happening. We as human beings, we tend to be very pessimistic sometimes, and always looking at what is not working and forgetting about the things that are actually working. So it's important to write it down, to acknowledge it, to appreciate it, and to celebrate it. So thank you to all of you who wrote it here, and hopefully you have something like an ABC of gratitude. So you can just put a paper that has the ABCs, and then little by little start writing something that you do well and with the letter A, something that you do well with the letter B, something that you do well with the letter C. This is something you can also do with your students. What is something they're proud of? Especially with students who always struggle, it's really hard for them to think of things that they do well. Okay, thank you so much for participating. So the first thing is gratitude. So talk about being grateful for what we have done well. Now we do have to reset a little bit, because, you know, we're always thinking of how we can do better. That's why we became teachers. We became teachers because we want to do better every day. So let's think about what is not working right now for you professionally. I want you to think of you as a teacher. What is holding you down at work? And what is keeping you from succeeding? This might be similar to what we already shared of what is happening in the classrooms, but think about right now, what is not working for you? I'll give you some time to write it on the chat, but also if you want to raise your hand, just like Marwa did before, feel free to do that, and we'll unmute you. So think about what's not working for you. Oh, I love to see this, and people love to teach. It's such an amazing profession, and a very difficult one as well. So think about what's not working professionally for you. Maybe it's the lack of time. Maybe is the lack of discipline from the students. Maybe is students not being motivating. The administration, definitely. I have been there, I have done that. I know what it's like to be an administrator, but I also know I have administrators who can be sometimes difficult to work with. Too many students in the classroom, unreasonable, unrealistic administration demands, definitely. You want to do something, you want to be excited about something, and then boom, you get a meeting to go to, boom, you get a new student in your classroom. The motivated subjects, finding the mood and concentrating. Definitely. I think this is part of life, but also I think that happened a lot to us during the pandemic, right? We kind of like lost that, but they call it the mojo, right? The everyday happiness. Okay, so what we need to do with when we have thoughts like this of what's not working for us, we need to acknowledge it. We need to write it down. We need to come up with ideas to reduce it or stop it if it's possible. So if we have lack of motivation from the students, we cannot really make somebody be motivated, but we can make our lessons motivating enough that students will want to learn. We can learn from our students too. If we don't have time, unfortunately, we cannot put more time into the day, but we can divide our time and prioritize so that we know what's important, but it's not that important that we can hold off on our wishes, right? If we had time, we would do this and we would do that. But motivation definitely is hard, and different ages sometimes in a group setting, or different intelligence IQ levels, as somebody shared here as well. It could be an issue. Oh, I keep going too fast here, sorry. Okay, there we go. So it's important to write it down, to acknowledge it, and to keep it somewhere too. You know, these are the things that are hard for us to see and to talk about sometimes, but we need to see them. And we need to try to reduce them or stop them if possible. If it's your administrator, for example, come up with 3 topics or 3 ideas that you think you can do it, you can manage them, and have a conversation with the administration. Like, listen, this is what we can do in the next 5 days, 6 days. We cannot do everything you're asking us. So having those sincere conversations can be hard, but they're definitely something that we can do. And sometimes we cannot change, right? There are things that we will not be able to change. Your administration might be very serious and not wanting to even talk to you. So there are things that you can write down that you want to do, but you cannot change. And unfortunately, that happens a lot in many different settings. But at least you recognizing them, what's holding you down, it will help you process it a little bit more. And last but not least, we want to renew. So when we want to renew is we want to have those wishes, right? We want to have the plan for tomorrow, the plan for the rest of the school year. So what do you want to start doing as a teacher or as an educator, as a professional? What do you want to start doing next? What can you change or control? And what will support your well-being as your plans for the next school year? So this is kind of like your wish list. If you could change things, what could you change? If you could plan ahead for the next school year, what would you do? And I'm going to take a look here at some of the questions we have too. So feel free to write in the chat an answer to any of these questions. What do you want to start doing as a teacher? What can you change or control? Oh, I like that. Take courses. I have a lot of free resources for you soon. Question about multicultural classrooms. Mohammed had a question about multicultural classrooms. I think that, in the United States, all of our classrooms are very multicultural. I used to teach in a school community that we had people from representing many different countries, backgrounds, and languages. And I think one of the best resources we had is really bringing what is unique about their cultures and their perspectives and elevating that. So doing celebrations in the classroom that really allow students to express their culture and to bring about where they're coming from, share their favorite music or share their favorite food. Or, we used to do multicultural day in our school. So everybody will bring different dishes and the parents will share. So definitely bring books that represent their culture, that they feel proud of. I even had flags at some point of different countries that they represented, and the students drew their own flags and they were very proud of that, or bringing their heritage into the classroom. Okay, I see some people saying that they want to do more training. Oh, artificial intelligence in teaching. I know this is the brand new thing this upcoming year. It's not going anywhere, so we need to learn to use it for our benefit. Somebody compare artificial intelligence to spell checker, right? I don't know if you remember, I'm old enough to remember when spell checking was the next big thing. And we were like, oh, wow. And now it's just like a second thought, it's always there. So I think artificial intelligence would be just like that. I see people saying they would like to motivate students to be creative. They want to use culture to help teach vocabulary and grammar. That's beautiful. A lot of new things, artificial intelligence. Having a club for speaking skills. A lot of our students are very good in the reading part and the writing part of a test, but when it comes to speaking, they are very shy, or they don't feel like they're confident enough to speak in front of a classroom. I love that. Oh yeah, look at this. We have a vice principal who's saying artificial intelligence for scheduling. I know scheduling is so hard, and artificial intelligence hopefully could be good for those kind of things. Create an interest in activities and planning. Very nice. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to move on to the next. So I like to think of what we can do as something, start small and keep it simple. SAKIs. I just came up with this acronym to remember SAKIs. So start small and keep it simple. Because we start big, we're never going to get there. It's going to become a little too overwhelming for us. So just choose one or two things that you're going to be very good at, research over the next couple of days and get very good at it, and then plan it and practice it. Start small, never start too big, because it will be frustrating for you and for your students. So let's think about starting small and keeping it simple. So here are some strategies. First strategy, very easy. Hope matters. You should be the person who comes into the classroom hoping that things are going to go well today, for example. You need to have that hope for the future. Bringing that hope into the classroom will make the classroom atmosphere better. If you come thinking my students are not going to learn today, immediately you're already putting that barrier. So you need to think a little bit about hope, bringing hope and optimism. If you do research on social emotional learning, that they have something called optimistic closures and optimistic openings. So your classroom should have an optimistic closure, like at the end of the day, this is where we're optimistic about, this is what we can do better next. So something that you can do is practice gratitude. And this is something that we did at the beginning. We thought about things that are working well. That this is something that you can really motivate students to do, encourage them to do, because I don't think we do enough of, even as adults. So some ideas to practice gratitude is to have a gratitude journal. So every morning students write something they're grateful for. or they come in the morning, they have a sticky note, they put it on the wall for you. I saw beautiful bulletin boards of gratitude trees. So you can make a big tree, and at the beginning of the year, it will have only a little bit of leaves, and then it will have a lot of leaves towards the end of the year of what you're grateful for. Sometimes students might not want to cooperate and write anything, and that's fine. You can have them just put a blank, and maybe tomorrow you can come back, find it, and write something that you're grateful for. And there is a technique that is done in many schools in the United States as a morning meeting or as an advisory, and it's an appreciation and an apology. And this was from Edutopia. They have a nice video in Edutopia as well. And the students got in a circle, and they could either be quiet and respectful and listen, or they could say something they appreciate. You know, I appreciated that this student this, or I appreciated my teacher teaching me this today. Or sometimes the students had like an aha moment, like, yesterday I was feeling this way, but today I'm feeling that way. That aha, or, you know, yesterday I didn't know how to do this math problem, but aha, now I get it. And they can share that aha moment. And sometimes students needed to share an apology. So maybe they offended somebody, maybe they didn't come prepared, maybe they had to apologize to somebody. And they did this in this advisory time that students had. This was 8th grade, I believe. So you have to do it with kind of older students, but you can start also with younger students. And even at the college level, I think sometimes we think that the college level students will not do this, but they will. They will do things like this if we frame it the right way. Gratitude garland. So if you take a small piece of paper and they write something that they're grateful for, and then they staple it together to the next one, creating a chain. So you create a chain or a garland that the students can use later on, and they can see it growing throughout the school year. Something very, very simple too is a gratitude jar, where you write something that you're thankful for. You can model for the students at the beginning, and then students can bring gratitude jar papers and put it in the jar. And randomly throughout the day, you can pick one out and say, somebody was thankful today because, you know, their pet had a good checkup at the vet, or somebody was thankful today because their car started in the morning, or somebody was thankful today because their mother cooked a really nice lunch for them. So the more that you can model how gratitude will build up confidence in the students and will build up that happiness that we need, that, you know, we lost that mojo, we lost that happiness in our classroom. And you can also do a gratitude game. You know, you can collect things that people are grateful for, and you can create like a Kahoot. And the next day you can do a Kahoot and students can guess who is grateful for this. So it helps them kind of really get to know their classmates. Okay. So I was gonna practice this with you. Hopefully you can do it. If you can do it, that'd be great. This is a grateful name. And I did one as an example. I'll show it to you in a minute. So the idea is to write your name vertically in the center of a paper. And then you use each letter to write something you are thankful for. You can use the letters of your name in any position. So I'll show you, oh, what happened to my picture? Oh, there you go. Okay, you see it right there. So I made one. I don't know if you can see it because of my screen, but I put it here too. I took a picture of it. So I put my name going down, and then I put what I'm thankful for. So last night I was thinking, what am I thankful for in the last week or so? What can I say that I'm thankful for? And this was actually a little difficult at the beginning, you know, because we're in busy lives and we don't stop and think about what we're grateful for. So I'm grateful for my sister, for my health, my friends, my dad, my work, my abilities. So if you do this with your students, you can change it, you can do it at the end of a lesson. You can give them a word, and then they can write things that they're grateful for, maybe at the end of the week, at the end of the semester. So I was thinking a little bit about, what do we do next? And I'm going to check the time. Okay. What do we do next? And, how do we focus ourselves for the next school year? Because there's a lot going on. So first, we need to have a mindset of checking in with ourselves and self-talk. A lot of the times we have negative self-talk. And I like, Mutia said salam attitude. I like that, right? Like attitude of peace and an attitude of being good to yourself as well. And when I was reading research about it, they said that we have about 70,000 thoughts per day. Like just a person has 70,000 per day. And the thoughts could be words or images or actions and that you see in your brain. And then I was thinking, teachers probably have more than that, because we're constantly making decisions in the classroom. What's working, what's not working. Then you have a student over here misbehaving, and you have a student over here coming in late. You have a student crying. You have a student who says, I'm done. So teachers have a lot of thoughts. So think about 70,000 thoughts per day. So we often have to take a moment to reflect on the self-talk that we might experience when we have these thoughts. And especially when we have this negative thoughts or negative self-talk. So we have to think of three things. Is it useful? That I'm constantly thinking my administrator is going to come into the door and be, again, mean or be disruptive. So if my thought is useful, okay, then I need to deal with it. Is it truthful? Is it really that I'm thinking my administrator is going to come that way? Or is it realistic? So definitely think about what is each of the thoughts that you have. And then you have to talk to yourself as you would talk to a friend, or you would talk to a student who is having a hard time. We often are kind of mean to ourselves. We're like, I did that wrong again. But you wouldn't talk like that to a friend or a colleague that comes to you seeking advice. If a colleague comes to you and like, I'm a failure, you're not going to say to the colleague, oh yeah, you are a failure, right? You're going to say, no, you're not a failure. You got this. This is something you can do. So let's think a little bit about ourselves, our own friends, and talk to yourself like you would talk to a student who is struggling. I see some comments in the chat. So yes, each student needs a different approach. And I will share this PowerPoint at the end with you. And I'm glad to hear that Kahoot is still well liked by everybody. My students were obsessed with Kahoot many years ago, so it's good to hear that people still use it. Okay, so there are some mindful practices that you can definitely implement for yourself and for your classroom, but one of them is breathing. And I'm gonna do it here with my hand. And I think this is a very common way of breathing that is part of the social emotional learning curriculum and mindful practices. So one is breathing starfish or hand. So what you do is, when you're having those moments with students who are like, okay, I need to take a break from a student in the moment because I know I'm going to lose it. You put your hand up and you breathe and you count as you move your finger up. You breathe in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. And you think about how we breathe every day. We don't think about it. That's why we breathe without thinking. But we don't take enough deep breaths during the day. So our brain needs this oxygen coming in from the air we breathe. So even when you're in the classroom, you can say, hey, everybody, let's take a break. Let's do starfish breathing. And that will help you too as a teacher. That will help you to settle in and continue with the lesson. Or you can also do system drawing, our support system, which is a flower. And the way it works is, let's see if you can see it. Oh, maybe you won't be able to see it. Oh, there we go. Okay. So you draw a flower. I won't be able to see it because of my screen, but you draw the roots, and in the roots, who are the people who are supporting you every day? Then in the stem, who are the people who are there for you, that you know you can rely on? The leaves could be the people that you reach out to when you have a problem. And the flower and the petals could be the people that you are affecting every day, the people that you are in charge today. And just having that kind of thought of, okay, these are the people that are in my life, and reach out to them when you need them. Have them, you know, as part of that support system that we all need. I love that people like the breathing activity and the short video from kids yoga. There's Adrienne, I think Adrienne's yoga. She's very good, and there are quite a few practices that you can get for free with social emotional learning curriculums. Okay. Another practice is the weather report check-in. So you can have the weather, and you can, just like we did the colors at the beginning, you can say, okay, if you were the weather today, what is your feeling? So are you sunny and bright and happy? Are you kind of cloudy? Are you kind of like partially cloudy? You don't know how you're feeling. So let's practice. Now that we're almost towards the end of our presentation today, can you tell me, if you were the weather reporter, how are you feeling? Are you feeling happy and sunny? Are you feeling a little down? Or are you feeling like a tornado, like, oh, this is a lot of information? So take a moment to share your thoughts. Oh, I see somebody using the emoji here, happiness. I like that. So in the chat, if you want to write, okay, partly cloudy. It's very common. We have those moments of, okay, I'm bright and happy, but then like clouds of work come my way. Sunny and happy, sunny. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing. So why is teacher well-being crucial? And I love to see administrators here because you definitely play a very important role in teacher well-being. So I love this quote. It's kind of long, but just the first sentence is enough for me. I am the decisive element in the classroom. It is my personal approach that creates the climate. We have a big responsibility in our hands as teachers because you can either be the source of inspiration or you can be the source of unhappiness. You can escalate or de-escalate. You can humanize or dehumanize a student. So we have a very important responsibility in the classroom. So the way you come in is important. The way that you present yourself into the classroom every morning that you walk in is very important. So we can definitely have our moods can affect the climate of the entire classroom. Sometimes we have to be a little bit like a clown, right? Like always happy in the outside, even when things inside are not exactly 100%. But we are those adults, we're the responsible people who come in and have to do this every day. I like that, David. Well-being should never be an afterthought, right? Like we really need to take care of ourselves to be able to take care of others, like filling your cup before you fill other people's cups. So I really like this from David Rock and Neil Siegel. They, you know how in the United States we have the healthy plate where you put like your vegetables and your fruits and your protein. They came up with the Healthy Mind platter. This platter has 7 essential mental health activities that we should be doing every day or at least every week. And here they are. I'll quickly go over them because I know my time is running out. So first, we need to think about having time to focus, having playtime. We forget that we as adults, when we make connections the most is when we play. So I don't know if I'm trying to learn a little bit of Arabic, and I've been using Duolingo, and it's a challenge, and I find it like a game. And I feel like it really pushes me, and it feels, because it's like a game, I feel like I'm learning a little bit more. Finding time to connect with others and with the natural world. We need physical time to do a physical activity. We need to move our bodies. We also need to find time in when we quietly reflect. And like moments like today is that time in that we're reflecting on our own learning and our own teaching practices. We also need the downtime when we're not thinking about anything, like nothing specific. We're not thinking about work. We just are there trying to not think about anything. And we also need sleep time. Recently, there was an article about sleep time. We need 7 hours of sleep time, 7 to 8 hours. And people who are athletes who are working out all the time, they said that if they don't sleep well, they never perform well. And also they're saying like, we're trying to, exercise, lose weight and all that, and we sabotage that by not sleeping enough. So sleep time is very important for everybody. So what are we doing to recharge? So I'm going to show you some great resources we have. Always a learner. I'm always a learner. I always like to hear what people are doing. And there are a few things that we have. So we have webinars, we have MOOCs, and we have global online courses. And all of this is free of charge. So we have webinars that we do from our Facebook page. And these are free webinars, just like this one too. I thank you for coming here. We have 100 participants today. So it's wonderful to see this. But if you want some other webinars that you can join them. They're every other Wednesday. And I believe the one coming up is going to be on starting the classroom, the year well, starting with the right foot in the classroom. So you can come in. People prefer, you can join the webinars too using Zoom. So just go to the Facebook page, American English for Educators, and you'll find a link to also join via Zoom. And we have our open courses. So there are 8-week courses that are offered. And if you want to participate in any of these courses, please look at our open website. And we also have MOOCs that are available all year. So this ones I kind of have a more set time frame, but the MOOCs are all year long. And they're massive online open courses. We have them for teachers and we have them for students. So feel free to share those with your students as well. And these are some of the titles that we have of the MOOCs. And last but not least, you have to go to this website because we have so many free resources for everybody, americanenglish.state.gov. So in this website, you find tons of resources. They're all free. You can download them. You can modify them. They're open source. So if you want to give us credit, that's fine, but you don't have to because they're open source. So they are open for everybody. I'll show you a few of them here. So this is one of my favorites ones, Activate Games. We do have the actual games in some embassies. So if you are close to a U.S. embassy and in the let me know, because we can definitely send some of this your way. But we also have them online. So you can get them for free online. So Activate Games, they look like this. This is an example. Would you rather? And you can just play this game with your students. You can make it a PowerPoint presentation if you want. You can copy paste and you can definitely use it as much as you want. And this is an example. Would you rather be this one says, well, would you rather be a baker, a dentist, or an accountant? I don't know. Anna, what do you think? What would you rather be? A dentist, a baker, or an accountant? I have people telling me baker. Okay. Tell me why, David. Why do you prefer to be a baker? Lots of cookies. Some people are saying lots of cookies. Nice. Okay. And this is another example. Would you rather enjoy food? Okay, good. Some people want to be dentists. That's not the only game. We have tons of games there. We also have songs. So those of you who want to use songs in the classroom, we have tons of music that you can download for free and lesson plans that go with each of the songs. So everything is there for you. Oh, somebody wanted to be a bird. Yeah, with the activities that would you rather be a bird? Okay. And we have art resources as well. These are really good also for thinking about gratitude and mindfulness in the classroom. So we have a whole book that has art ideas for the English as a foreign language classroom. And don't be afraid of using them with college students. I do definitely think that this could be used not only for elementary and secondary, but also for college graduates. And as I show you earlier, here's our website. I wanted to, some people were asking about motivation and working to motivate students. So if you go to our website and you scroll all the way down to resources, and then you're going to find creative ideas. So we have brand new critical, creative, and action. Somebody talked about critical thinking. We have this flashcards with activities that you can do using Bloom's taxonomy. So I recommend that one here, critical creativity in action. And next to it is the monster book of teaching activities. So with the monster book, you can download the book. It's a really big book. And I can bring some to, or send some to Kuwait, but definitely you can, in the meantime, download them here. Here is the book, and you can download it by just scan that QR code, and you can find tons of activities there. For example, move as is. So this activity includes a lot of total physical response. You can use it to check on the student's comprehension after a story, or give a student a kinesthetic activity, or even when you're talking about how you're feeling, like, you know, today I feel like a tornado. So let's move as a tornado, and everybody gets up and moves as a tornado. So these are just very fun activities to have the students be motivated to be in your classroom. And it helps you with providing a brain break. We have emotional color reading when students take part on how to read something with different feelings. So for example, here is a text that students have to read, and students have to read it with frustration. Then students have to read it calmly. Then students have to read it in shock, or as if they were embarrassed. Different ways of motivating students and providing different activities in the classroom. Again, we have these dialogues are free. We have all the books and resources for you. And this is the end. So I want to know how you're feeling after this webinar. So emoji reflection. I think in Zoom here, you can also put the little emoji on how you're feeling, but you can tell me if you feel like a 1, like a 2, like a 3, like a 4, or like a 5, or you can put the emojis here. Oh, I love to see the emojis. Ooh, I saw some good emojis coming up. Excellent. I see a lot of 1s, a lot of hearts. This is great. Thank you very much. And I think my last slide has just to stay in touch with us. This is our general email, mamario@state.gov. You can follow the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait if you're in Kuwait, for more information about our programs, and also our U.S. Embassy Bahrain. These are our Instagram accounts. Most importantly, if you go to our website, you can definitely find every resource available. Everything that I share with you today is there. And I do have PowerPoints. Let me see if I can share here. I will share it with you. If not, I will share it with Anne. Oh, here we go. Okay. Let me see if it works. Put it in the chat. I put the PDF file of the PowerPoint in the chat. So feel free to grab it there. I'm gonna stop sharing so I can sort of see more people. And Anna, I know we only have like 2 more minutes, but if there are any questions or any ideas, thank you so much for the very positive feedback.
Thank you so much, Sandra. This was a fantastic presentation with so many different ideas. Now, for those of you who did not download the PowerPoint, I will put it up with, because probably by tomorrow, if you go to our Tesol Kuwait homepage, then click on webinars, and you will see the little ad for today's webinar, and underneath it, it will say click here, and that will be highlighted to watch the video. And then underneath it, I will have the link where you can download this wonderful handout. Okay. Thank you again. We really appreciate it. I'm going to see if I'm going to try to share a screen. Okay. Okay, it says only one at a time can share, so I don't know if it's going to. I'm trying to hit my. Just a minute. I want to go to. It's not going to what I want. Okay, now I'll be able to. Okay. Inshallah, I'll be able to do this. I've lost my.
I believe to register for next webinars, they have to go to this webpage, right?
Yes. Plus, we send out different things. Okay, I hope that you can see this.
Yes.
Okay, if you see on here, then what you do is you click on the webinar page, okay? And you will see here is the ad for today's webinar. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the here to register. Click, it will say click here to watch the video, okay? And I will, and see how I did it for when Natalia Wright gave her excellent presentation, where it says watch the video here, click here for the PowerPoint files. I will do the same thing here for Sandra's story, okay?
Good.
And to remind you, those of you who attended for at least 45 minutes of the presentation today will receive an attendance certificate. It is based on the data furnished by Zoom, okay? So please be patient. This is not done by AI, not done by a computer. It's done by me. Okay, so inshallah, you will have the link for the PowerPoints and the video by Monday, and you will have received your attendance certificates by Monday. Again, thank you. I hope that you will join us again in September when, Richard Harrison will be presenting critical thinking skills for the 21st century. Until then, I hope you keep safe, enjoy your holiday, and I will see you, inshallah, in September. Goodbye.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming.